All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Bradford Police Station Task Force meeting. Clerk, has the roll been taken?
Through the chair, roll call's been taken.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest today? All right, seeing none. There's no presentations or delegations today on our agenda. And for items of consideration, can I get a mover and a seconder for item 4.1 to put item 4.1 on the floor? Sorry.
Do we have more? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And with that, Christina, would you give us an overview, please?
Yes, through the chair to the Police Service Task Force representatives, report 2023-364 is before you to be received. The project is currently undergoing several key components that will facilitate continuing to move through the project forward on schedule. A key item for consideration for your awareness is the ceremonial groundbreaking event that's currently anticipated for August 2023. We have a tentative date scheduled in the calendar, but we need to be cognizant of the 20-day appeal period that occurs during the zoning bylaw application process. So due diligence has to be adhered to during this time, and the ceremony should only take place once the 20-day appeal period closes. And who provides comment during that process. So stay tuned for a confirmed date. I'll release that to you hopefully in June. In July, a sign will be erected on the BPS site that will show the public the site is under construction. So this will assist the city in raising awareness of the project, keeping it in the public eye's good news story. One that includes environmental awareness as well as the importance of the longevity of public safety in Brantford. Moving forward to the request for supplier qualification, which is just basically preparing for general contractor to come on board. That was closed on May 11th. 10 proponents are under review by the evaluation team of the city. We'll meet on June 14th and 15th for a 2-day session where all these proponents, I think 20, will be reduced down to 4, who will then be invited to bid once we issue the tender documents. The date range for tender release and closure is August through September 2023. Enbridge Lands continue to be moved forward under the due diligence period, as mentioned in previous meetings. The city may extend terms and conditions back to 1 year, which is more than enough buffer to break ground in October. Stormwater management, I want to touch on that, continues to be one important aspect of the sold land and easements. So we continue to work with Enbridge on the joint partnership in ensuring adequate stormwater plans are designed. Enbridge is completing their site work on Carter Street and will provide the final bill for site work in the month of June. They're slightly delayed, they had to replace their general contractor. So this final bill is encumbered in the existing approved project budget. I want to circle back to the zoning bylaw application for a second. The file was accepted by the planning department on May 23rd. And a deeming letter was released and a file number assigned, so that's good progress. Next steps are public consultation process. So planning issued an email to councillors for next steps on a suggested neighborhood meeting. And we're just waiting to coordinate the potential date we're giving for mid-June. My understanding is that the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the Six Nations Grand River Executive Council will have this strategy circulated to them through the Grand River Notification Agreement. That's one of the people who will receive the notification. The GRNA is the document that promotes the sharing of information with our neighbors about matters of potentially mutual interest, including but not limited to considering new zoning bylaws or amendments. So I just wanted to touch base on that for a second because I wanted to understand who could appeal during the zoning bylaw application process. So from what I understand, it's any person who's provided written or oral submission during the zoning bylaw application has the opportunity to appeal. So we just have to wait and see who will respond to that. But it's an existing police station that's being updated and we don't anticipate it to be a concern. We are working to expedite the project and tighten any turnaround time associated with the site plan control. The zoning bylaw application is typically included in the overall site plan application, but we've pulled it because site plan application isn't provided to the city yet. The consultants are working on it. They should have it to us by the end of May, which is tomorrow. So we continue to push for that to be submitted. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment are the next big piece of the project puzzle. The first of two items to release to you is the comm center furniture. We've met with Bramett Control Room Furniture Supplier, who is covered under the existing approved budget through the consultants. So they're giving us three options, three layouts. And the police stakeholders have provided us all their requirements. It's important that we know how the desks should work, all their peripherals, how the way the USBs connect, their electrical requirements and so on. Those desks, just so you know, are prefabbed and then delivered to site. So we've even gone to the extent of finding out the spec of the elevator and size, path of travel. At times, those components can be a challenge to install, but it looks very good for a Bramett Control Room Furniture Supplier. They know what they're doing, so this is good news. And then the radio antenna, we've talked about it in previous reports, but I wanted to defer to Deputy Saunders on that. We pulled it from the Class B estimate, it's not there anymore. And I'm speaking with Deputy Saunders about making sure it's solved, that it's taken down and something else is up by August. So there's a little bit of a buffer for one general contractor to be in and get the GC for us to come in October. But I'm hoping Jason can just touch on how that's going.
Yeah, sure, through the chair. So again, these are ongoing negotiations, so I won't get into the exact details of it. But one thing that we have to consider is that we're making the most fiscally appropriate decision, not just for the short term, but for the long term, because that radio antenna does run both ours and it assists with the fire department's trunk radio system as well. So we are working with a consultant that was unrelated to this project, but the scope of their work with us covered this antenna. So we're working with them. We met last week and we're meeting again this week to go over the options that are most viable for everyone. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have a firm decision and moving forward on that.
Thank you. So I'd like to talk about the tourism building next. Due to additional hires and the lack of office space in 344 Elgin Street, the police service is looking to gain occupancy at the tourism building in June instead of August. But the costs for the fit out are included in the existing project budget. And we have all the components like IT related infrastructure and the temporary furniture that I pulled ready to go. BPS, pending that work effort being executed in June, will be the sole occupant then of the tourism building from June for a 30-month period starting in October, so 34 months until that wraps us up in July 2027. So as you know, Costco is building around it, so the city will work together to make sure that the police have access during times at which any construction work is happening at the entrances, and I just wanted to touch base on that, let you know we're working on that together. And that will happen from 2024 to 2027. So Costco will be done summer of 2024, but the police will remain in the building until 2027 when this is complete. And that will be investigations and administrative stuff. So archaeological assessment was completed on May 10th and was prepared by ACC, archaeological consultant, and submitted to the Ontario Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. So they stated in their report, no artifacts or other archaeological resources were identified during the stage 1 and 2 assessment. And so no further assessment of the property is required. Project milestone review, you can see on, I think, the page, page 4. Detailed design development is complete and 60% construction drawing status complete. So we're now into site plan control and the completion of the construction drawings. So some things can be completed in parallel, like building permit submission. We can anticipate somewhere around the month of August, and those 4 proponents will be invited to bid on the tender in August. The tender review we anticipate to close in September, and then boots on the ground in October. And again, 30-month duration, substantial completion March 2026 with a 4-month efficiency buffer at the end for punch list closeout. And that brings us to July 2027. So there's no financial implications in the receiving this report, but Class E estimate was submitted to the city on April 26th. There's a slight increase in the estimate. The city calculates to be at 2%. So a value engineering meeting was held to assess what we could do to still provide a robust building system for the police, but and still meet the threshold of net zero carbon building. But what we could do to value engineer some of the materials and design. So the outcome was reduced by 1.3 million. And you can see some of the highlighted materials in the report. Like there were 2 generators suggested for additional robustness of any power failures. They said it would still meet requirements for 1 generator. Copper was replaced with aluminum. They were reviewing lighting again, certain components, certain sections of the building, like the Sally Port maybe doesn't need additional insulation. So just reassessing what needs to be, the insulation needs to be improved where and where not to. And then we're going to circle back to the solar panels on the roof, because the sub-consultant said that we could possibly tear that down, and that's still being defined. So we'll circle back to do one more value engineering meeting to discover what we can do in terms of solar panels and alternate manufacturers for mechanical components. I think that we'll defer to the general contractor on that on a case-by-case basis, just to highlight that we will be coming back to it repeatedly to assess. So in conclusion, the climate lens tool is the last piece I wanted to touch on. I had training on that this month, and I'll submit a full updated report on the next task force meeting in the coming months.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Councilor Martin?
Yeah, the first thing is the groundbreaking ceremony you're planning. One of the things that we found was that companies that did groundbreakings were the ones that were hit by protesters. Now we haven't had any protests lately, but there's no point poking the bear in the eye. I would suggest that you cancel any kind of groundbreaking. Think more along the lines of doing a celebration and ribbon cutting when the facility is completed.
Okay.
I don't anticipate we'll have protesters, but no sense of raising the flag for them. Control room furniture, is there a reason why we can't utilize the existing furniture that we have?
Through the chair, the existing furniture is seen the end of its life cycle, and the entire room is a challenge to work within. The design of the desks continue to change and be upgraded from an ergonomic perspective, but from a functionality perspective as well. And that component is, in the sub-consultant's opinion, critical to the way the building operates once we hand it back to them.
Okay, and you're reducing the number of solar panels. Is that being done in such a way that we can add panels later if we want to?
Yes, so, and that, through the chair, we can always look at that from a 3D modeling perspective as well, because you can see in the designs how they fashioned or fixed them to the roof, and they're running together in one section. So there's large parts of the roof that will be, the insulation will be improved, so you won't have to be accessing the roof for maintenance for the next 20 years, let's say. So yes, you will be able to add more. But keep in mind that this building, in order to meet net zero requirements, the consultant calls it islanding, so it's only circulating the efficiencies from solar panels into this building, not being put back into the grid outside of this building. So what you would see is reduced bills in this building if you were to add more panels.
Could we get to a point where we're supplying power to the grid if we had enough panels?
I did, through the chair, I did ask that question at the onset to see if it was possible, and I think based on the size of the roof, not necessarily possible, but we have a building automation system that we can use to provide reports to you to see whether that can be possible, and there's opportunity to expand into perhaps the parking lot, we looked at designs for the parking lot, canopies.
Okay,
And that would provide shade to your electric vehicles as well, so.
okay, that's my question, thank you.
Any further discussion? I'm just gonna add a comment then. I just wanted to add to your comment that you mentioned about the groundbreaking. I'm wondering if instead of entirely not planning to do that at this point, we look at what comes back from the period of time that people have time to respond or the community meeting and then decide from there, because I do think there's a lot of nice things that come from having the celebration of like a groundbreaking as well as the ribbon cutting in the long term, which is going to take a bit more time to be something that we're going to need to do. So if we can look at it in that way and then get a sense of how you feel everything is going, or if there's going to be concerns, and then we could always look at it then.
Through the
Does that make
chair,
sense?
I would say I would look at both sides and come up with a report for you in the month of July. So that you could see what the consensus would be at that time.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. All right, if there isn't any further discussion, then I'll take the vote on 4.1, that the staff report 2023-364 grant and services facilities and redevelopment project update be received. All in favor? All right, that carries unanimously. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes from the February 27th meeting?
So,
And all in favor? Oh, I guess, sorry, I didn't ask for any discussion. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Yeah, thank you. All right, and there's no resolutions, no notices of motions, so we're adjourned.
Thank you.
This is so quick, I could have been this one.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.